YouTube. This is Reverend Evan Sackett. The other day I heard a Bob Dylan song, The Times They Are A-Changin', and when I heard this song, it was very strange because it made me think of the 60s, but I didn't live through the 60s, so it kind of brought back this artificial memory of if I had lived through the 60s, what I would think about. And the song was kind of sad in a way because whenever I hear songs by Bob Dylan, it makes me think of the Vietnam War and all the veterans that came back from the Vietnam War, the draft, that times where the military could make you join, could make you go, whether you wanted to or not. And it kind of made me compare then to now. The 2000s, in my opinion, have been the most turbulent decade since the World War II era. And if you think about it, our generation has the same aspects that the 60s had, only more turbulent. George Bush was our Nixon, or actually, in my opinion, our Lyndon B. Johnson. Obama is our Martin Luther King Jr. The Iraqi War was our Vietnam. 9/11 was our Kennedy assassination. Only in our case, not one person died, but over 3,000 people died. So, I mean, and that's not even including the Great Recession, as they have come to call it. I don't think any idiot can deny that we are in a recession. And many states have fallen to the level of a Great Depression. Now, I was comparing the statistics of the Great Depression to our time the other day, and I realized that even as bad off as we are, we still cannot compare to the Great Depression. For instance, unemployment rates are 9% right now. During the Great Depression, they were triple that, 24%. Also, you had a large number of bankrupted companies that went far beyond the number of bankrupted companies that exist today. So, things are not nearly as bad as they were during the 30s, but some states are suffering from a 24% rate of unemployment. A lot of towns are suffering. In fact, the towns in my surrounding county are suffering greatly. It seems that we are in a time of change, and we hope that change will come. There are some that feel that Obama's going to get us out of this. There are others who feel that Obama's just going to fuck things up even worse. That he's going to raise electricity, that he's going to raise gas prices, but we'll just have to see. I don't know. I do know one thing. If McCain had been elected to office, I don't think we would have been any better off, because McCain was just going to be another Bush. Things weren't going to be any better. But you can believe what you want to believe. There's like this whole subculture of people that hate Obama for whatever reason, probably because he's black, but I'm not going to go there. That sounds too cliche. What makes me angry is that a lot of people vote for presidents, but they don't even know their policies. I actually read up on the policies of people before I vote for them. I didn't vote for anybody in this election simply because I would have tended to vote for Obama, but I didn't completely agree with his policies. And I wanted to vote for somebody else, a third-party candidate, but I knew they'd never get elected. But that is exactly the kind of mindset that keeps third parties from getting elected. Everyone thinks, hey, I'm throwing my vote away. But if everyone who actually wants to vote for a third-party candidate would actually vote for them, they might actually win sometime. Why do we feel that we have to have a Republican or a Democrat? It's getting old. I'm not sure that either one of them knows what the fuck they're doing. The world of politics is such a complicated and torn up world. Everybody feels like they've got the simple solution to our hard problems, but they really don't. It's not going to be an easy fix. Nothing ever is. But I was just thinking the other day, I mean, I've always wanted to go back to the 60s. More than anything. I've talked about it time and time again. And the further we get away from the 60s, the worse I feel. I'm fascinated with watching old films that were taken during the 1960s of Bob Dylan playing live or the Rolling Stones playing live. You know, and I kind of compare then to now and wonder, you know, if I was alive during that time, what I would have done, what I could have done. But we all seem to have a tendency to want to just move on and pursue the future. I just hope that the future is bright for all of us in this country, because right now we are going to look back on the 2000s as the most turbulent decade of the 20th century. The 21st century, I take that back. But since the 2000s kind of came right after the 20th century, in my opinion, they will still be attached to the 20th century. Who knows what lies in wait for the 21st century. But in my opinion, I feel that the 2000s have been the most turbulent decade in a very long time. More has happened in the 2000s than could have ever happened in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and I think maybe even the 60s. Maybe in the 60s you had a lot of rebelliousness, you had a lot of fighting, opposition to the Vietnam War, bad presidents, the Kennedy assassination. Seems like in 1963 shit just hit the fan hardcore. And going into Vietnam full scale is what really escalated that. The Martin Luther King assassination, the RFK assassination, all of those factors played in to create a very turbulent and rocky time that I would have given anything to experience. I really would have, and I think there's a lot of us that would have liked to have experienced it. But our time is kind of going retro. If you notice, young boys are starting to sport that 1970s haircut, that kind of shaggish mop top haircut. Everybody's starting to wear bell bottoms again. They're starting to wear peace symbols again. But this time, peace symbols are not simply worn for a reason of fashion. This time they actually mean something. They mean peace in the Middle East, which is something that's never going to happen. Why we are getting involved, I do not know. I mean, 9/11 happened, what, almost 10 years ago, and now we're trying to go into Afghanistan to put the Taliban out of business. I mean, they do pose a threat to America because they would attack us again if they could. But I don't know if we're making the right decision going over there or not. At least we're getting the hell out of Iraq, and that's a step forward in the right direction.